Hello, this is the Vietnam Social News Update for October 17, 2025. Date of news coverage, October 17, 2025. Politics. Vietnam's National Assembly is gearing up for a high-stakes session beginning Monday, which will run until December 11th. In this final regular meeting of the year, deputies will tackle critical government personnel appointments, including nominations and votes for the state president, prime minister, and the head of the parliament. Preparations emphasize open procedure and legal compliance under the Constitution. Meanwhile, the Assembly plans to pass close to 49 bills and 4 major resolutions during the session. These personnel shifts come amid the broader political maneuvering tied to the upcoming 14th Party Congress. The draft documents now circulating for public consultation propose changes to the party charter and structural governance reforms. One major proposal is to abolish the district administrative level and reduce the number of provinces and communes, aimed at streamlining bureaucracy, but also raising risks of local disempowerment and implementation gaps. Behind the scenes, the party and state are attempting to balance centralization and reform. On one hand, the leadership wants greater agility, accountability, and modernization. On the other, it must maintain political stability, guard against factionalism, and preserve the party's dominant role. The personnel decisions in the coming weeks will signal the direction in which Vietnam's political elite is aligning. Economy. Now, let's move to the economy. Vietnam's third quarter delivered a strong blowout. GDP growth accelerated 8.22 to 8.23% year-on-year, despite significant headwinds from U.S. tariffs. Exports to the U.S. saw contraction in sectors like footwear, down about 27% month-to-month, and textiles, but gains in chemicals, coffee, electronics, and other higher-value sectors helped offset those losses. The trade surplus in Q3 stood at around $8.9 billion, with robust industrial output and foreign investment inflows reinforcing momentum. This growth performance underpins the party's more ambitious economic roadmap, which now aims for at least 10% annual growth in the 2026 to 2030 period, and to double GDP per capita to about $8,500 by 2030. To reach those targets, Vietnam plans larger public investment, a higher fiscal deficit up to 5% of GDP, and lower public debt floors, under 35%. The model attempts to tilt growth leadership to the private sector, while the state retains leverage in key strategic areas. Still, challenges loom large. U.S. tariffs could depress export demand in coming years, with some estimates warning of a loss of up to $25 billion. Vietnam also faces demographic aging, climate risks, technological gaps, and institutional capacity constraints. On the financial front, equity markets responded eagerly. The FTSE Russell's announcement of a pending upgrade of Vietnam from frontier to emerging market status drove the VN index to fresh highs, with expectations of billions in foreign capital inflows. Next, in society and culture. The aftermath of consecutive powerful storms is testing Vietnam's disaster resilience. Typhoon Matmo struck northern and central provinces, triggering floods, landslides, and breaches. The death toll has passed 50 in recent weeks. Thousands have been displaced, and infrastructure damage runs deep across dozens of provinces. The crisis underscores long-standing gaps in flood control, early warning systems, and climate adaptation, especially in vulnerable rural and mountainous districts. On the media and soft power front, the newly launched English-language channel Vietnam Today is now broadcasting 24/7 as Vietnam's first state-backed international communication platform. It is positioned as a window on Vietnam, aiming to offer global audiences a contemporary image of the country beyond tourism postcards. The channel is central to Hanoi's external communication strategy and represents a deliberate push to shape narratives of modernization, economic dynamism, and governance to the world. In cultural development, discussions are intensifying about how the creative industries and digital economy can drive sustainable growth. Vietnam's digital economy is estimated to account for nearly 18% of GDP, growing faster than nearly all regional peers. But many local firms remain in low-margin assembly roles rather than in innovation, design, or IP ownership. Analysts caution that Vietnam must amplify R&D spending, close the urban-rural technology gap, and build institutional capacity so that culture and high-tech can genuinely augment, not just supplement, the economic base. International relations. Finally, in international relations, Vietnam's recent diplomacy with North Korea captured attention. During a visit by party chief To Lum, Vietnam and North Korea signed cooperation agreements spanning defense, foreign affairs, and health. This marks Vietnam's first top-level visit to Pyongyang in almost 2 decades, and suggests Hanoi is testing ways to broaden its diplomatic outreach beyond traditional partners. Domestically, Vietnamese attitudes toward China are evolving, especially among younger generations. Social media and curated coverage are softening views of China, from outright geopolitical threat to admiration of discipline, modernization, or cultural aesthetics. The shift has created political latitude for Vietnam to revive controversial projects near the Chinese border, including special economic zones and high-speed rail links, with lower social backlash than in earlier periods. That said, Vietnam continues to tread a fine line between major powers. The U.S. is pressing Vietnam to reduce Chinese input in exports and realign supply chains, while Europe looks toward Vietnam for green investment and stable trade partnerships. As Vietnam is upgraded to an emerging market status, it also seeks to elevate its voice in multilateral forums: ASEAN, climate diplomacy, digital trade, positioning itself as a more confident, medium-power actor in Southeast Asia's changing geopolitical order. Thank you for listening to the Vietnam Social News Update. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And see you again tomorrow. This news summary is based on publicly available reports and rewritten uniquely for Vietnam Social News. VietnamNews.com is the official web address of Vietnam Social News. We're an independent platform, not affiliated with Vietnam News Agency or any government-owned media outlet.